Good morning. How's it going? Happy New Year. It's great to be back. I almost forgot how to do things, so let me know how everything looks with the setup, and let me know what you did over the Christmas break and the New Year break. Did you sew anything? Did you get any last minute things done? I know we were all kind of like scurrying towards the end there, right? To get some gifts done or to maybe fulfill some like 2018 obligations. So did you guys make any sewing resolutions or anything like that? I don't make resolutions. I just like continue on as I mean to go, you know? So let's see here. I have had this pattern for a few months now. It is exactly the kind of blouse that I would really like to make, so I thought I'd start the year off with that. So I am Sarah Duffy, and you might know me as Chicken Boots. I started this live sewing stream in September. Welcome any new viewers. I feel like I may have a few because I announced last week that I'm transitioning out of Chicken Boots to do this, and it's kind of a crazy decision just because Chicken Boots does so well. But there's just been this like crazy list of weird little things that happened all in 2018 that kind of started making it a little bit more challenging, like challenges that I'm just kind of fatigued over, especially production. And the fire that happened here was kind of the last thing. It just made it a lot more like made my choice very obvious. So and this is getting so much traction that I'm really happy about that. This is what I'd really like to be doing, just sharing my sewing knowledge. Hi, Ida. You're not doing resolution or make 9. Yeah, I'm not doing the make 9 either. It looks really cool and I like the idea of it, but I would rather just see what other people do and just support what they're doing. So, and maybe look at people's make 9 and see if there's like some similar like crossovers, and then just maybe sew those things so that those folks can get some help getting it done. You know, I'm all about making sure people get their stuff done. It's kind of the curse of being a pattern drafter and never the like head designer. You're always trying to make sure everyone else gets their dreams a reality, you know. So all right, everything look good, you know. So okay, so I sewed a little I swept my floor right before the stream. Hi, Leah. Oh, awesome. Hi, Brooke. Good to see you guys. I'm really glad you're here. And just anybody who's new here, just so you know, if you want to talk and chat, YouTube has this weird thing where you have to create a channel, which is just the same as making an account. It's not any big deal. You don't have to start posting videos or anything like that. There's no like friend system or anything. It's just a security measure, and also kind of prevents people from going into streams and randomly chatting stuff that, you know, is live and the streamer has little control over. But you'll see like Brooke has a little wrench by her name, and that's because she's a mod, so she, you know, she's ready to regulate. Right, Brooke? We'll see. You guys are all super sweet and casual though, so it's awesome. We haven't had any. We had that one guy that weirdly said, "Don't forget to change your oil," you know. I guess we can consider that a troll, but that's the most polite one we could get. All right, so I did a little, I was a little nervous to sew this one without, like, kind of cold, you know, just without practicing, because I haven't done one of these styles of plackets in a while. So I just cut the top part of the bodice off, and I did a little muslin in this fabric. And this is, you know, like one thing I learned is that I forgot I need to like pay attention to how it finishes in the back. If you look at like sewn ones you've bought, that's usually serged or finished there or rolled under. So that was my trial, and it actually went really well, but I also did it on quilting cotton. Yes, Brooke. And I'm doing this on rayon, and I love rayon. Like, I love the way it drapes and everything, but I hate cutting it out, you guys. Like, oh my God, it's so like whooshy and it goes all over the place. Ugh. I always dread rotary knifing it on my mats because I'm always assuming it's going to get caught on the mat, you know, like snag. And my mats don't do that, so I don't know why I always think that. I think the old mat I used to have a long time ago, it used to like catch on all my things. And that's because it wasn't technically a rotary mat. It was a, I think like a 1/4-inch sheet of PVC that I just got like a plastics place in town, which you can do that. Totally works great. It wasn't a big deal, but things would get in the grooves. And this rotary mat isn't like an Olfa or anything like that, but it does work really great, and it's huge. Like, I have it on a 4 by 8 foot table. So it covers, I have 2 tables like that. So it's great. And hopefully in my new space, I'm going to have a camera on my table so that we can do things like pattern streams, some on my like serger and my home machine, which are right there, but I can't really like change the camera angles. Hi, Melinda. Happy New Year. Good to see you. I saw your Make 9. Looks like a great list. I liked it. Weren't you the one that kind of kept it casual too? Like, you're like, this is, I know I want to do these things. I don't know which patterns. So I really like that. So, all right. So here we go. So this is the Cheyenne Tunic by Hey June Patterns. And there are 2 options. You can do a full button up with a straight shirt hem, and then this like a formal sleeve placket, the kind that has the like little triangle, you know, finish there. And they both have this little tab so you can cuff them and then pin it up or button it up. And then this version is what I call a Johnny collar, which I was like, does that date me? I don't know. I actually ended up Googling it after that. Like, is this a thing, or is this just something my company called it? But it is similar to this, where it kind of stays open and it's a pullover. This is a little more elaborate. And this is a 3/4 length sleeve, and it also has the little button-up tabs. It doesn't button all the way through, and it has the curve hem. I cut out the large. That kind of surprised me. I was pretty excited that it went up to 2X, but then when I was like, if I'm the large, that 2X isn't getting too big, so just be warned about that. And then I'll try and photograph it on me so you can see how a large fits me. My bust is about 37, 38, so, you know, I consider myself usually a 12, 10 or 12, and this put me at a 14. Because remember, when you look at sizing, you guys, I'm just going to remind you about this, because we went over this, I think, in that Jeans for Noobs. This is so important when you're like ordering garments online. You always look at, like, if this said this fits 38.5 inches to 40 inches, and you're like, oh, perfect, I'm 38.5. No, it's going to fit the 40 inch. You always look at that top number of the range, because it has to fit that person if they're saying it does. So it's going to be a little big on you. So you're always looking at this top number if this was a range. So this is basically telling me I'm a 14 on her size chart. So just be warned of that. Oh, cool, Brooke. Yeah. Yeah, you know, I have a feeling like the cutting is it's a speed bump for a lot of people. I used to hate cutting stuff out. Like, I really hated it. It prevented me from sewing, you know. And this was, you know, 20 years ago when I felt that way, or a little bit more. And then I kind of got over that hurdle, because I started looking at it like there's a lot of creativity involved in the cutting process. You get to decide a lot of things. And some of those decisions I know are really intimidating, like what size do I pick, and which view do I pick, and do I have enough fabric, and all these things. And then you're having to worry about grain line and the direction of the print and all that stuff. I know that that stuff is really intimidating, but I think the way I look at it is I rule each thing out and then I stick to that. You know, it's like if I'm waffling on one of those decisions, I need to resolve that before I can move forward. Otherwise, you feel uncertain the whole time, and feeling uncertain doesn't feel good, you know, and then you feel like you're going to make a bad choice, you know. And then I think, like, when you get to the sewing table, the trick is how to deal with maybe a bad choice you made, right? And so that's where I come in here too, because you guys will see, a lot of you new folks will see, I fix things right here. I make mistakes all the time. And then we just fix it right here at the table, the sewing table, because that's where I'm at. I don't want to get back up. If I'm live here, I'm not going to get back up. And it's like figuring out how to deal with the hole I dug and put a pretty flower in there, right? And then move on, because this is not what, you know, we don't do this because it's easy. We do it because we really want this experience, right? So I'm going to put this cord up, and I'm afraid it's going to like drop down in front of the camera. So, all right, so let me know how everything looks. I'm going to start off going off into the deep end here and put this placket on. I'm actually going to put the pockets on first, and I'm going to tell you why, and it's because rayon. So the rayon is so wishy-wishy like this that my pins won't stay in there where I've marked my marked my pocket. Is that bright enough for you guys? I kind of brightened it up and then it looked a little like blown out. So let me brighten it up a tiny bit and you can tell me what you think. I like it a little brighter. Okay. I like it a little brighter like that. So let me know if that's just too much. We're pretty much working on this fabric the whole time, so there's not going to be any like black that comes on the screen and then it just does that crazy weird auto exposure thing. Oh, I was going to change my needle though. I've been so back to announcing the fact that I'm transitioning to this live sewing stream full time. When I made that announcement, I very naively thought, oh, people would be like, oh, okay, I'll just make sure if I want anything, I'll just place an order by April. And I got inundated with orders, which I was really thrilled with because it felt really good. It felt like, okay, wow, you know, I didn't have the greatest sales in December, just being totally honest. But I know that's because I was largely kind of absent, like promoting and things like that. I was a little overwhelmed by, you know, supporting people around me with the fire. And just things were shifting around me a lot with that. The landscape in my town is really different right now. It feels really different. Oh no, this is not the needle I want. So I pretty much my inventory on my website was correct. However, I do have 3 products that I don't sew all the way. Let's see, where's my needles? So just so you know, like when you're looking at your needle size, it's always, this is the size, the one with the slash. I always think that's the needle size. It is not. So that's the size 18. This is a 16, 14. That's what I'm looking for. I really need to buy more. So there's 3 products that I sew myself here. Like they're 3/4 of the way done. And that way we get it almost all the way done. Then we put it on the inventory. And that way it allows us to have greater quantity of things in more fabrics. But all those things sold out. So I had like 60 bags to finish and like 30 pattern holders. So I've been busy doing that. I've been working long days and I am totally happy to do it. Like it's temporary and I'm really glad that, you know, people are finding things they want. Why isn't this going in there? This needle looks a little longer. Oh, there we go. You know what's funny about my new machine is usually I clean under my throat plate down here when, like every, you know, like once a week or something. Sorry, it's hard for me to put a needle in on stream because I don't have my head under the camera. And for the this industrial machine, my needle goes in sideways. So the eye is facing that way. So I'm just trying to get it in straight because otherwise I'll have problems. But the funny thing is I can't get my throat plate up. Cat help. Wait, what are you guys saying? Oh, yeah. So like that. I know because this print is kind of busy. Oh, yeah, Leia. Oh, yeah. I know that one. Day passes. Cat cameras. Exactly. Oh, yes. I tell people when they ask me, oh, what's your favorite tool? They're always really surprised that I don't say my sewing machine, or like those that know me think I'm going to also say my awl, this little guy right here. But my favorite tool is actually my cutting table. Like getting a table that is permanently set up that you can cut at is like the #1 thing I always recommend sewists have. Yes, exactly, Leia. If you're on the floor cutting things out, it's such a drag, you know? It's uncomfortable, it's less accurate sometimes depending on what you're doing. And yeah, your little helpers are not very helpful. So, all right, so I'm going to put the pockets on first because these pins won't stay in there for very long, and I figure if I can get them out of the way, then at least I can pull the pins out, not worry that I'm going to lose my marking, and then when I get back to it, it'll be okay. Like, it's okay. This isn't the first step, which is strange because usually in sewing, you would always put on your pockets first. My hands are shaking a little bit, like I'm nervous or something. I'm just super excited. It's so nice to be here. It's nice to have a break from packing orders and The heck? Did you see that? My pin won't go in there. Sometimes your pins get dull. Just throw it away. I remember when I like started like, I felt like I was getting like so professional when I would be like, I don't like this pin anymore, and I'd throw it away. Or I just need to change my needle before it broke. That's not getting professional. That's getting smart, you guys. Just throw the pin away. Get rid of it. And if it's causing you problems. And change your needle often, okay? I'm going to lecture about that often. So I kind of cheated before stream, and I ironed my pocket first, and it's because I really want to get through the front placket today. Oh, I can't get my pin through there. I think it's this interfacing. I want to get through the front placket right here, the collar and the shoulders and the back yoke, and then we'll do sleeves on Saturday. So that's my plan with this. And I'm pretty excited about this pattern. I'm not really excited about how crooked that ironing looks right there, though. You see that? Right there? I'm going to fix it when I get there. So I always start with my pocket upside down, and then I come to the top, and then I make a little triangle right there. I'm going to get rid of this little thread. It's a little tiny piece of rayon thread right now, because I don't want to pull it just in case it ends up like, you know, pulling it out of the print and then making the print off. I'm going to come down, and now I'm sewing on my pocket. So you're going to see I don't put a ton of pins in when I do stuff like this. I feel like it gives me greater control and maneuverability if I can adjust as I go. This one, I feel like I am being a little bit risky. I gotta get my sewing legs under me. It feels like a luxury already having it ironed, though. I should do that more often. I know the instructions always say to do that. My machine's winding a bobbin right now. That's the other thing about this machine, is that the bobbin winding is super loud. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but it gets kind of squeaky. And I just do like 2 stitches. You don't have to do this. I just think it looks more professional. And pockets, if you use them, like, I'm probably not going to use this chest pocket, right? But if you use them, it's a high stress point at the top, putting your hand in there and putting things in there over and over. So I already lost one pin on the other side. I saw that. Now I lost the other one. So I'm just going to use this pocket placement to figure out this one. At this point, since I already have one pocket on here, I find that using that pocket's whereabouts is more important than using the pattern markings, because I want them to be symmetrical across the shirt. So I'm going to try, see, this is what I hate about rayon, is trying to get it like folded and lined up again. It's so maddening. It's almost like I want to buy felt and lay my fabric on felt to cut it out. So I'm just going to use this pocket. You see I'm like lining it up like that. Trying not to like skew it too much. It's really close to the placket. It kind of worries me. Stop moving. Okay, here we go. I'm going to leave that right there. And then I'm just going to, usually this is how I do it. I pin in the middle of the pocket. That way I don't have to worry that it's going to do this. You know, like if you have a pin, like one pin, it's going to move. Oh, good, Mullen. Oh, awesome, awesome. Yeah, I really like this pattern. Okay, so you guys know I waffle with giving you pattern reviews because, oh, hi, Rebecca. You love pockets, Rebecca. I know that. Because I come from a place of understanding as a pattern drafter. There are lots of ways to draft a pattern. And there are, you know, when you're drafting a pattern for the home sewing audience, you have a lot of people interpreting the data. If you are a pattern drafter that works in the garment industry, and you're drafting patterns for your factory to interpret, you have one customer, right? And then you get the hang of how they like to sew things and how they like things. And you can kind of refine your technique, you know? So there are a lot of correct ways to do things. But I will warn you, if you go to cut this out, it's a little confusing because only a few of the pieces are marked which view they are, and the other pieces that you might need, like say the 3/4 sleeve, is for view B, I think. It doesn't say that on there. I think that the drafter just assumes like, oh, well, you know the 3/4 sleeve goes with the view B, and finding the list in the pattern book was a little tricky because they have the right off the bat they have the lengthening and shortening, and then they have these layouts, which is helpful. I don't usually look at those, but you have to get into a few pages to figure out like which pieces go with which each one, which for me, I just like seeing it right there on the pattern pieces. Oh yeah, true. Is your name Lisa? Liza? Hi. Thanks for coming. Oh, it's okay. I just started, and you know what? When I sew live, it's a little bit slower. Oh, 2 Eastern. Yeah, Pacific. I'm Pacific. I'm in California, just so you know. I'm always trying to reiterate that whole Pacific thing. I'm like, God, are these people like sick of me saying that? But, you know, there are folks from all over the world that watch, which is really cool, you know. I'm not very accommodating on those for those Aussies though. Yeah, so we'll have to figure out the optimal stream schedule. Like once I can just do this as my full-time thing, I'm open to changing times. I don't really want to stream Saturdays and Sundays, but I'll always stream on a Saturday if you guys want. And then I can always make it later in the week, you know, that's fine. All right, so there's my pockets. Once they're ironed, they'll kind of calm down with that waviness. But let's get to our Placket. So I also got ahead of myself and ironed the long edge. And so once, I will say, like when I did infuse these and I just did my little muslin on the that fabric that I showed you guys, and I pre-pressed this edge, no problem. Once I put the Pellon, the interfacing on it, it made it really hard to press it on this curve, so I had to clip it. Can you see that? Totally fine. Just clip it. And so what you do is you turn under the long edge 3/8 of an inch on the outer placket, which is the one with the Pellon, and but the seam allowance is 1/2 inch, and that's because it's going to give you a chance to cover it up. So, all right. So let's see. We're going to sew the outer edge of it first, and that's at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. See, I'm really glad I sewed this through because I know that. And you know me, I would have made this whole thing 1/4 inch. So this is not how I would have drafted this placket. Like I said, lots of ways to do it correctly. I would have definitely put in, I would have made it so that there was a right and a left and the square cutout was in there. That's extra drafting, but easier to sew, easier to explain. My bobbin is so noisy. I don't know why that is. You know, my machine is running so good. I don't really need the mechanic, but I want him to come because I want some adjustments made. But he comes from an hour and a half away. So it costs me about $350 to have him come out. And I'm willing to pay that, but you know, 4 visits, that's a brand new machine. You're eating, oh yeah, exactly. You know what? My family loves to eat early. Like my parents, you know. But I like the way they do it. They're like, we eat 2 meals a day and dessert. That's their 3 meals. See how inaccurate that looks? That's my cutting. Terrible, I know. I do need to press a bit for this one, because I don't want to take any chances. I love sewing these and I hate sewing these. They make me nervous every time, but I really love the effect. I just love the style neckline so much, and I'm fine with sewing it. It's actually the way you put it in is so straightforward because all you're doing is straight seam, and then you flip one to the inside, sew across, and flip one to the outside and finish the edge. So it's actually, step by step, kind of like doing a zipper fly. You just do each step and then it ends up being like, oh, it's done. It's awesome. So not so bad. Let me just press this real quick. I love how fast rayon presses. So nice. I'm going to do a good job. It's so hard to see. The print is so busy. So when I first pressed it, what I did was I pressed that seam towards one of the plackets, and then I pressed along the edge, kind of like how you do a French seam. It makes it a little easier to get a really crisp edge. So see, so I pressed the seam allowance to one side first, and now I'm going to fold it on this edge. I'm going to fold it on this edge to get a nice edge. Okay. You do? Oh, wait, Rebecca, are they the home style tabletop jukies? I've never used one of those. A dessert meal sounds brilliant, right? I know. I was raised by that woman. She has it right. Okay, so let's see here. This is this side. And this is this side. And so what I was really pleased with is that she does have you sew it from the inside to the outside. You know how I love to do that? It's my little trick of when you have to get something correct and it has to look nice on the outside, start with the inside and finish on the outside. That way you know you're going to get a nice looking outer part. All right, so here's a good example. When you're lining up your seams, you're going to line it up at the seam line, right? Not the cut edge. So this is a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So I don't want to line this up right here. I want to line it up at the seam line right there. It seems wrong, but that is how you're going to make the whole thing fit in there. Otherwise you'd be like a 1/2 inch short at the bottom. You don't want that. And it's really weird to me. Ugh, I can't get it to there we go. Rayon, man. You won't see me sew with this very often. It's so fiddly. I feel so fumble fingered when I'm doing it. So see, now I'm at the 1/2 inch line. I doubt you can see it, but that's where that juncture is. So yeah, I've never used those, Rebecca, but I hear good things about them. I think it's interesting that they came out with those. That's pretty cool. I'm gonna make my stitch length a little bit shorter. I'm trying not to pull. This is on the bias right there because it is the on the angle there. So it's just the natural bias. Get to my pivot point. So there's a pivot point on the pattern. I just kind of know where it's at. Pivot. Keep going. So basically, it's the placket right side to the wrong side of the shirt. You go a couple inches or a couple stitches past this slit. Like that. Now we're going to do the other side. So when you go to slit this, you guys, the pattern, you just have to cut straight down the center of that to that. Just do it. Don't hesitate. Just do it. I know most people would be like, okay, I'm not going to do that yet. That's too scary. But it's so much better to do it at your cutting table because you're probably going to be more accurate when you do it than if you were here at the machine and you have a smaller work surface, especially if you have a home machine on a table and you have that like difference in height. So do yourself a favor and trust that you're going to do a really good job sewing it and just cut the slit the way she has it marked. You don't want to have to figure that out. So you'll notice that I sewed one from the front and one like from the outside of the garment and one from the inside. That's because I tend to like to sew my seams in the same direction that they are to each other. So I'm starting from the neckline and going down on both sides. I can't always do that, but I find that it helps. So if there's any inequalities, it's symmetrical or, you know, it just makes it a little bit more accurate. And so these sit here and butt up against each other. I'm going to go a couple stitches past my bobbin's getting really squeaky. And now I'm going to go across the bottom to the other one. So this is where I'm like, this is not how I would have done this. All right. I need a full bobbin, but why does it have to squeak like that? Okay, and then I'm going to clip this right up to the corner there. Don't hesitate. Don't go through your stitching. Go right up to it. Let me see, how's this go? So it's usually right over left with if you're female and you're buttoning a garment. And the way I always remember that is women are always right. You can do it the other way. It's fine. But it is like your hands are kind of used to buttoning things with your button in your right hand. All right, so this one goes underneath. And you know what? I'm actually going to edge stitch my placket right now. I like the way that looks better, and I found it really tricky to do after I had got all this in. So I'm going to do that. I don't know if it's in the instructions, but this is what I want. So I'm just edge stitching it. Did I run out of bobbin? Oh, no, I didn't. Come on, bobbin. Fill up. See, it's also my bobbin winder is slower than my old one and looser, and it doesn't fill up as much. So annoying. But to have him come here for that and to be able to remove my throat plate, I don't know, is that worth $350? So if you're unfamiliar with the machine I sew on, if you're new here, I sew on a Juki Industrial. The reason I do is I don't have anything but a straight stitch. I don't have a buttonhole. I don't have a zigzag. I can't do anything else. This is not the machine I do the binding on. That's behind me. And I just really like the way it sews. It's comparable in price to a brand new home sewing machine these days if you get something you know, pretty good, you know, quality. Is challis different from woven rayon? You know, Kathleen, I'm not sure. It's a really good question. I always heard that term too, rayon challis or just rayon, and I feel like it's the exact same thing because this isn't a knit. It's still woven. I think challis must have been some sort of, maybe it's a French word, you know, maybe rayon comes from France. I don't know. We could Google it later. But that's about all I could do. I'm going to press this really quick. So you guys, we're gearing up to do our first sew along, and I'm already getting a few people saying that they're getting their stuff. That's really exciting. I think it was Ida that I saw that you were doing your measurement chart and comparisons. So that's pretty cool. Next week I'm sewing the men's Jutland pants. Oh my gosh, I'm totally spacing the name of that pattern designer. And I have an ad on the Love to Sew podcast, and it's a menswear edition. So that's why I'm going to do that. So now I'm just edge stitching my my ironed under edge here. And I'm going to tell you, like on my sample that I did, what I did was I actually put a stitch at 3/8 of an inch right there, and then turned it under and pressed it because I really wanted it to be accurate, and she kind of stresses that, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to go with that. I'm going to try and set myself up to succeed. But I found that it limited me when I got to this step, and so I pulled out the stitch, which it still worked perfectly. I totally recommend doing that if you're like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to get a really good 3/8 inch even, perfectly even, iron pressed under edge. Just sew it first right where you're going to, like right inside where you're going to turn it and iron it. And then once you iron it, you can just remove it so that you don't, because if I wanted to pull this out a little bit, I couldn't with that stitching in there. I'm going to go a little fast so that my bobbin finishes up. Where's my awl? I need my awl. I didn't iron that very good, did I? So this is covering up this stitching, see? That's why this edge gets pressed under a little bit less, so that this piece is a little bit wider and encases your under one. Ooh, Brooke looked it up. Oh, silken wool. Oh, that's interesting. Right, Ida? I know, sometimes the measurement charts get more confusing. It's like, that's why I think at one point I was like, all right, you guys, don't stress about this. Just go for it. Oh, you do, Malin? Oh, that's interesting. I saw this funny post by this woman. She was saying, hey, does anybody, would someone sew me a women's shirt, but with the buttons the other way, because she wanted to fool her dry cleaners into charging her less for the dry cleaning, because she was convinced, like, what's the difference between men's and a women's? Oh, in England. Oh, interesting. That's funny. I've always heard the word challis in conjunction with rayon. I think I heard it once with wool, and I was a little confused. I was like, huh, that's interesting. Why'd they do that? All right. I'm going to straighten out my placket right now. I don't want this to get wonky. And you can see I have all this extra stuff in here. I'm just going to go just past. Here's my slit. Right there is the bottom of that squared off bit, okay? I'm going to go just past that. And actually, let's see. Yeah, I'm going to think about this for a second. Sorry, let me think about this. I didn't like how one of my things went on my other one, and so I'm wondering if I can fix it on this one, right? I'm going to go a little bit past. I can feel it. Like that. I'm going to cut this off. See, this is where my patterning would be different. I would not do this. I would have made this pattern piece specific. Okay, and on this side, it's going to cover all that up. But I want to look at the inside of mine right now. I'm going to, so if this one is on top of this one, this is how it's going to go, like that. And see, this one is a little bit wider. So I'm hoping I can get it in there without this puckering. See that puckering happening right there? I don't like that. And so I think on my other one, I put this to the inside. But we're going to put it to the outside. We're going to make it work. Gonna make it work. Okay. So let's see. I'm not sure I can get it to work yet, but I'm going to pin this right now because this is non-negotiable for me. Right now. Right now it's non-negotiable. So let's see if I can get it to work. Oops, I caught that. Okay. So this is the next step that I would have done a little bit differently. So you need to create the angle on this piece yourself. So there's a little diagram in there, and I wasn't quite sure what was going on in it. But what I found was that if I fold this way, I fold it. Can I even show you guys? Let me see. I need to find a way I can show you guys how I did it. Okay, here's my placket. I mean, it's looking really good so far, right? I'm pretty happy with this. But this is when it gets real. So I found that if I folded this at an angle and I lined up the cut edge with that side and I did the same on this side, I got a symmetrical thing, symmetrical point right there. See that? I'm going to iron it and I'm going to cut that extra off. Okay, so now that I have it ironed, I can show you better. See, so I lined up. Yeah, there's some messy stuff going on there. You're just going to have to look past that because it's kind of the leftover of your seam allowance from this is extending past the opening. Okay, so I folded this up to there. I'll cut this piece off right there so it's less confusing and all this little gunk. I folded this to that side, and then I folded this to this side, and that's because I really want my point to be symmetrical. Now I'm going to cut some of this off. Basically because it's in the way. And I want it to be a little bit less bulky and easier. So, and all of this is kind of annoying. I'm just going to chop that off. Okay. So now I really want okay, this is looking pretty good because I can still poke that in there. So remember what I did was I took my inner placket and I pushed it to the front, to the outside, because I really want it to be caught in this whole clean finish right there. See that? I have this little turn under edge, but I don't think it's actually doing that when I have it flat on the outside. And even still, it's going to be caught in there. As long as it's not creating any puckers, I'm going to be happy with that. I will say there's a lot of pieces to cut out with this pattern. I was like, okay, I'm done cutting. Oh, shoot, I got to cut all the interfacing pieces. That's a lot of interfacing pieces. All right, I'm going to trim this more. I just trimmed the under placket a little bit more just to make it a little easier. I'm just trying to see, like, am I going in the right direction? Is it laying nice and flat? I don't want to stretch out the bottom of this placket by doing anything. So that's what I have right now. Now I'm going to pin this so that it wants to stay there and it relaxes the bottom area, and now I can deal with it. I'm going to get rid of this pin here, holding it in there. I'm just going to fold this in there. I'm going to try and fold it in there. There we go. Let's just put the pin cushion right there so I have to stop looking for it. Okay, so I'm going to pin this in a few places, and I may have to adjust it as I get there. I have a blouse that's kind of similar to this, even in a similar color, and I've worn it to death. So what's really funny is I have a dress in this exact print, this Carolyn Friedlander print, but it's quilting cotton, or like maybe a lightweight quilting cotton, and not the same color. And I didn't realize it until I was just about to buy it in my cart that I had the same stuff. So I'm just carefully like shoving all of those raw edges underneath my placket. Like, I know, like, this isn't the way exactly how she says to do it. I think it might be. I found the directions a little bit confusing. But this is what I want. And I think if you go kind of carefully and step by step, you can kind of engineer this the way you want it to be, because you're on the outside of the garment, and now you're controlling all aspects of how it's going to look. That's why I like sewing from the inside to the outside. Because you know what? No one's going to look at the inside, you guys. It's really nice that when your outside can look as good as your inside. I feel like that was like a key, like a buzz sentence when I was coming up sewing. You know, like your inside should look as good as the outside. You know what? Don't stress about that, you guys. If you're not entering it in the fair and you're not going to show anybody, like, it doesn't matter. Okay, this is too hard. I'm going to get rid of some of this. Get rid of more of this. Yeah, I think so. I would make, if I cut this out again, I would cut out like 3 at the same time. That's my tidbit. So I'm going to pop a couple stitches right here just to make this a little easier to fold up, because I went a few stitches past. I have some play right there. So that way I can go like this. And I'm going to trim it a little bit more. She says to trim this pretty close. I just get a little nervous, just like you guys. So I know this first step takes a little bit, but it's worth it. It's the focal point of your blouse, and it's also going to make you super proud if you get this. It makes me really proud every time I do one of these. I'd rather sew this than a welt pocket still. I think there's a welt pocket on those men's Jutland pants. I better start practicing before I have to do it in front of you guys. All right, see, look at that. That's way easier. Sometimes when you're trying to force it so much, it's just best to stop forcing it and like revisit one other aspect. All right, that's all I'm gonna pin that, I think. And now I'm just gonna sew it down. We're going for it. We're committing. All right. So when I sew something like this, I'm gonna just say like, it's really easy to pull this down as you're sewing, and then you'd get some torquing. Try not to do that. Like, you can pin this. Please pin it if you want. You'll see I don't pin a ton, but I do when I need it. And I know my machine likes to push one layer at a different rate than the other layer. So I try and compensate for that. So like, I just pushed this edge up a little higher at the top than probably needed to be, because I know it's going to self-correct. Because my machine is pulling the under layer at one rate and it's pushing the top layer. So, annoying? Yes. Okay, I'm going to take this pin out here. My bobbin is super squeaky. Better be almost done. I need my awl. It's like a security knife or security point. Oh my God. I can see my little fold trying to peek out there. I'm going to tuck it in there. Okay, home stretch. I'm going to look at it. I'm going to see if it's all kind of laying nice and flat. And then I'm going to come up and I'm going to sew across. There we go. I feel like it's a little bit of an angle though. I don't like that. It needs to, like, it's not, needs to line up a little bit better because there is some, it's too deep to not put buttons and buttonholes in. Let's put it that way. If this were true Johnny collar, it wouldn't need buttons and buttonholes. And you could get away with this little bit of an angle happening right there. I saw that happening, but I forgot that I don't want that. Let's see what the inside looks like too while we're here. Oh, pretty good. I got it mostly in there. You see that? So let's try and put more of it in there. That might help. Let's take it out all the way up here. So it is a little nerve-wracking when you do one of these little delicate areas in this delicate fabric. But I'm going to try and look at this as, now that it's been sewn once, it's going to want to do that. And I'm going to be really gentle taking it out. Because now I probably won't have to pin it as much because it's already been sewn this way. You know how like when you sew it, it kind of is like, oh, cool. Now I know what you want me to do. You're like, yeah, can you do that other thing too that I'm trying to make you do? At the same time doing all this other stuff. Like, let me add you another little hoop for you to jump through little stitches. All right. It's hard to see the stitches in this fabric. Okay, almost there, almost there. I don't want to snag my rayon because it'll just pull the print. You know what I mean? That's kind of a drag. Okay. So I got a text from my new landlord today and the floor is almost done. It's pretty cool. What is the feed difference in the bottom versus top fabric versus thread? Not necessarily. You're talking about my fabric, my machine doing that. Oh, I've seen that myosotosis. I can't remember what it looks like though. No, it does it on any fabric. I actually thought it did pretty good on this fabric, better than usual, funnily enough. I don't know why that is. Maybe the thicker stuff is when it's pushing. I might have my pressure of my presser foot too hard. I really like a really firm presser foot pressure. There we go. See, look at that. Looks better already, right? I think I was worried about catching the under placket in there, but I think I want to do that. Hi, Carol. Happy New Year. Nice to see you. All right, I'm going to make sure I got all my little threads out, and then I'm going to fix that. All right. Actually going to look underneath for any threads. Ah, see? I don't like immortalizing threads. So I don't think I'm going to get that in there, and I think that's just the nature of the beast. And if I had left enough, I'd be able to finish it, but I'm actually not going to worry about it too much. It's my first time sewing this blouse, and I like where it's going right now, so I don't really want to rock the boat. So just so you know, like a lot of you are new here, my machine, I operate the presser foot with my foot. So that's why sometimes it goes up and down, up and down. And because especially if it gets tired of me waiting, it'll just slam down. Like when I go to the ironing board, you'll hear it go thunk. It's because it got tired of me waiting. But my old machine didn't have that feature, and so I'm still a little touchy with it. Plus, I injured my ankle really bad, like a week and a half ago. Like, not really bad. Like, I'm walking on it, it's fine, but it cracked something fierce, and it just won't heal. So it's getting a little tired of this motion because I've been sewing so much. All right. That looks better, don't you think? Aren't you glad I took that out? I know you were worried. All right, that's what the inside looks like. Not too much of a fan of that. If I sewed another one of these, I'd sew it in a different fabric, and I would really analyze what to do about that. Partly it's because the pattern wasn't drafted with a left and a right. Yes, the fiddle with your foot pressure. I really love it. All right, so now we're going to do the back, shoulders, collar. So one of these is cut on the bias. That makes me a little nervous because the rayon is so whooshy already. And so the way I like to put on a yoke is I make a sandwich. I don't do any hand sewing with my shirt yokes. I figured it out like a long time ago when I learned how to sew Oxfords, like the shirt I'm wearing. I don't like hand sewing. I'm a big fat baby when it comes to hand sewing, and everybody knows it here, and I'm really sorry. I'm not more patient with it. It's just my quirk. Just love me for it, okay? Because you know, those of you who hate hand sewing, be thankful I'm here, because I will figure out a way for you not to have to hand sew something. I will do anything possible. Even though when I'm doing it now, I'm like, this isn't so bad. Why did I whine about this so much? Okay, so you see, look at this. This one's on the bias. Look at how much different it is. That's my face. So I'm going to pin this. And I'm going to hope I can get that in there. And I'm going to wonder why we're doing this on the bias. But I'm just going to do it because that's what it says to do. I think this would be really fun if you had a stripe or something. They even say, the pattern said you could do the pockets on the bias too. You know. Oh my God. Can I do it, you guys? I don't know. This is an argument for why you don't cut your things out and leave them for 2 months, because they will just sit there going, I'm gonna get bigger and I'm gonna stretch out in between, and then you're gonna wonder what the heck happened. This was just yesterday that I cut this out. Come on. Look at that. Woo! Come on, get in there. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. I can do it. Come on. I may go off a little bit on the edge there, but I'm trying not to. Phew! I made it. That was tricky. Okay, so now I'm going to take my fronts. And I'm going to make it so I don't have to hand sew my yoke. So I'm going to do this one. I'm going to just flip it like this. So you see that? So let me lay this out for you. So here's my back. This is my outer back. I'm going to put my front on here, right sides together. I'm going to line it up like this. And so the way I look at, you can start from this point or this point. I'm going to start whatever, thanks Carol. I'm going to start with whatever feels easy when I pick it up. And it's probably going to be this edge just because I'm going to pick this up from here, line it up. I'm going to put this right sides together, so I just flip it like this. And I'm only going to get that little edge started. Then I'll worry about the rest. It feels weird to do it, and it feels wrong, and it wants to fight you a little bit. So just try and get that first little like 1/4 inch under the needle, and then you can get the rest of it to match up. So now I have it secure under my needle, and now I'm going to line it all up. I'm going to start with the bottom layer and work my way up. It's a short section. There's really no need to pin it. And pinning it, you might make you more frustrated because you're kind of fighting what this wants to do. It's such a small little tight area. There you go. The way other people do it is they like roll up the back and put it in there. I just find this way faster. Just make sure you put the correct, you know, front shoulder, especially if this was a garment that was open all the way down and that you had to make sure you had your left and your right. Make sure you have your left and your right before you do this. Yeah, it is magic, right, Malin? I know. And you know, I didn't know this was a thing people did because, you know, there wasn't the internet when I was learning to sew. I just hated hand sewing so much, and I was like, why can't I do this, you know? And like, I feel like the trends and what we were wearing then were, of course, different than they are now. So it also meant we were sewing different things, and those were the things that were in front of me. And so there was a couple of things that we used to sew a lot of, in mostly like sleeveless, like a sleeveless bodice, sleeveless dress with no collar. What the heck? My thread had a little weird thing in it, so then it got bunched up. So I got really good at doing one-piece facings, which is a sewing term and a pattern term. You had to have like a zipper opening or an armhole, like somewhere you had to have a you know, opening to do it. But it kind of spurred on my like, what else can I not hand sew? Kathleen, you can yeah, the burrito method. Is it? Well, it might be similar to that, Carol. Kathleen, you can adjust the pressure of your presser foot on most machines. It's this, on mine, it's this right here. Just look in your training, your instruction manual for it. If you find like when you're sewing and you are pulling on it and it pulls out from underneath the presser foot, check in your machine's instructions or online and see if you have a way to increase the pressure of your presser foot. Just remember that the feed dogs are pretty sharp. You don't want to scratch your fabric. Like, funny enough, it's like when you have like a solid, I'm having trouble lining this up, and look at that fabric just unraveling, man. Sometimes solids will look scraped by your feed dogs and the dye will actually be rubbed off, and so you don't want that pressure. Or if you're sewing vinyl like I do sometimes, it can scratch the vinyl, and other things too, other more delicate things. So now I'm lining up bottom to the top. I feel like I'm not being very instructional today, sorry guys. I'm a little out of practice. I've been sewing a lot lately, but this is the exact same thing over and over again. All right, there we go. So now, see, it's clean finished on the top, on the inside, and on the outside. And now I'm going to top stitch my yoke. I'm going to try and keep it nice and straight. The bias is still fighting me. I always try and keep most of my garment on the machine so that's not pulling against the needle too. I'll talk about that a lot. I can hear my bobbins. I'm about to run out. So I gotta put my bobbin back on. Sorry, guys. It's so weird. It's so squeaky. I think it's just so dry here. I've tried oiling it, but I'm not sure exactly where to oil on it, and I don't want like a bunch of oil over there, you know? I don't need to backstitch on top stitching. That's why I'm not. It makes the potential for the backstitch to show on past the seam allowance, and I don't like that. I like to just kind of disappear into the seam. I feel it looks nicer. See, I knew I'd run out of bobbin. Let's just hope my other bobbin isn't as squeaky. Let's try that. I have half a bobbin. Half a bobbin is enough to wind the other one. Oh, foot pedal. You're thinking my foot pedal pressure. Oh, right. Yeah, you know, I actually was thinking about my foot pedal. I was thinking it would be nice if I could move it this way a little tiny bit, because this is where I sit, but my foot pedal's right here. And so what I like is the proper way to use an industrial machine is to have both of your feet on the pedal. But one of my feet is on the supporting bar of the pedal, and one's on my other one, on the foot pedal itself. I was sew a tiny bit once I changed my bobbin. Makes it cleaner. I'm just going to take this top stitching out so that I don't have a back stitch in the middle. It's so little, might as well, right? There we go. All right. Let's hope my bobbin's a little quieter this time. All right. Yeah, but I'm not sure he can move. I feel like he can move it, or maybe me, but the bar that's attached to my machine would have to be like at an angle, and that might not be ideal. All right, so let's look at our collar. There's a lot of collar pieces. So let's separate them out here. It's not really a collar. It's like more like a neckband. It's flush on the chest, so it's not like sticking up like a collar does. There's a little notch right here. I'm just going to note it. The collar's supposed to extend past the placket. Looks like about 3/8 of an inch. I'm going to match up my interfaced pieces with my non. I'm going to do my shoulder seams first. I do like that this is 1/2 inch seams and not 5/8. And maybe I should look at the directions though to see if the collar itself is 1/4 inch. Because it'll get a little too wide if, you know, I use 1/4 inch and it's supposed to be 1/2, and it'll be too narrow. Oh, it says 3/8 of an inch is the seam allowance. That's so weird. Why was the center front? I'll bet this whole thing is 3/8. I bet the shoulders were supposed to be 3/8 of an inch. That's really interesting for a woven. Usually you only see 3/8 of an inch seam allowance on knits. It's the only thing, and it's because they try and cut down the amount you're cutting off with the serger. And knits are bulkier. Yeah, starting the center front so the collar stands together. Oh, so it's a 3/8 of an inch around that, but where's the shoulder seam? Oh, this is the collar. Sorry, wrong view, wrong view, wrong view. Shoulder seam using a 3/8 inch seam allowance. Okay, I guess it's a 3/8 inch. Whoops, my bad. All right, we're gonna stick with the half because I already sewed my shoulders of my yoke at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So now I'm kind of stuck using that unless I want to take them all out. What that means is I've lost 1/4 of an inch here and 1/4 of an inch there, shortening the garment by 1/8 of an inch in the front and 1/8 of an inch in the back. That's how that adds up. So not a deal breaker, in other words. I'm not going to take it out for that. But seam allowance does add up really quick. The back actually got 1/4 of an inch smaller because of the back yoke seam and the shoulder seams. So Whoops. All right, so now we sew the neckline edge, the curve, 3/8 of an inch, apparently. Now look at that. One is interfaced and one isn't. I cut these identical, and look how much bigger this wants to get. See that? So be careful. I'm going to stagger. No, I'm not going to stagger my seams. I'm actually going to open them up. And yes, of course, pressing them would be a good idea first. I will press this collar before I attach it. So I'm just kind of walking my needle around. That's why I'm lifting the presser foot up a little bit to get around that curve. I pressed my seam allowances open. I like pressed seams open. It kind of reminds me that this is a homemade garment. I feel like for years I tried to make my homemade garments look ready to wear, like what I would buy off the shelf. And just mainly because I wanted people to understand that I could sew, you know, like, and I was trying to convince myself too, you know, like, I'm learning how to sew. That is not 3/8 of an inch seam allowance right there. But over the years, I've kind of adopted a hybrid and pulled techniques from both because there's merits to both. And sometimes you're kind of dictate how you sew because of your machine. What your machine can do and what your machine can't do. So you want to get this curve as symmetrical to the other one as possible. It is one thing you want to do. And I'm going to check it. I'm going to see how it looks. Looks pretty good. I don't know if you can see my stitching there. I'm going to trim this down. This is too bulky for a collar. Collars, necks, facings. Sorry, they should all be 1/4 inch seams, always. It's too bulky. It's my only feedback on the Archer button-up that I'm wearing is that the collar is, and the neck is 1/2 inch seam allowances. And like on this one, I didn't do 1/2 inch. I did 1/4 because that's what I'm just trained to do that. And I can tell my collar sits higher up on my neck. So I'm gonna clip my little curve here and my neckline curve. You really need to do this, otherwise it won't, because this edge right here, this little cut edge, that's going to end up on the inside all the way over here, right? And this, if you were to measure this edge, it's a smaller length than where it's going to. So you need to open it up. So when you clip it like this, it releases the tension and allows that little edge to kind of open up and spread out a little bit and relax. Otherwise, it's tight and you get this weird little flare in your collar. And you want to, you know, go right up to that stitching the best you can. So now I'm going to iron it. So just a second. Sorry, guys. So while my iron heats up, tell me, oh, hi, Nancy. With your first coffee, I'm so jealous. It's 11:15 here. Nice. What are you guys sewing? Are you guys sewing anything today? You going to be around on Saturday sewing? Sometimes you guys sew while I'm sewing on Saturdays. It's kind of fun. So once I do this collar, I might pull out the sleeve pieces. We can talk a little bit about it, but I'm going to set this aside and finish this, do the sleeves all on Saturday. But, you know, if you guys want to know more about the sew along we have coming up, it's the Mountain View Pull On Jeans by Itch to Stitch Designs. And we did an episode right before the holidays we just talked about that pattern, sizing, fabric selection, where you can buy the pattern, and I like put my like, you could see my computer screen during the stream, so you could see me on the internet. And we oh, thanks, Thea. We looked at how to print the PDF pattern. Oh, you work nights. That's right, Nancy. I forgot about that. We used pdfplotting.com. I thought you guys could print. You could request them to print only your size because that pattern happens to be set up in layers. But Nancy had hers printed and they didn't do that. They didn't honor her request. So you might call ahead and see if they'll do it. Or you might try Pattern Z. I know someone else was going to try Pattern Z and let us know how it goes. I think that was Christy who's going to do that. I know she can't be here on the stream today. She mentioned it in one of the comments. But so I'm kind of curious if you guys know of a pattern printing service or plotting who will print in layers, because that is a really nice asset to that pattern. Oh, a 1940s jacket pattern. That sounds cool. Is that a folkwear pattern by any chance? I love their patterns. They're so amazing. Oh, getting your jean supplies. Yes, I love my industrial machine. I can sell these things. I have never looked back. So anyway, that Mountain View, we're going to start that in a couple weeks. And it's casual, like no stress, you guys. But they're pull-on jeans. There's no zipper fly. You guys can do this. You don't need a serger. And I think they're going to go really quick. Like, I'm trying to drag it out for 4 streams, including the question and answer. But I'm going to be surprised if we can do that. Like, they're really quick. So I'm pretty excited about it. You can pretty much get denim as long as that's 20% stretch from a lot of places. So just look for that 20% stretch. So, oh, my iron's probably hot. Let me see. Okay. I think my iron is starting to leak. Kind of a bummer. I'm gonna press the edge, and then I'm gonna press under the edge. Well, am I? Yeah, I am gonna press it under. I'm gonna be nice to myself. I deserve it, right? So it'd be nice to be able to have a camera, you know, on the iron, because I could do this. Here, I'll do this. I'm standing right there. You have to look through my thread. I iron on a felt pad. Oh, rayon, you guys. Such a beast. Okay. Almost there. I'm almost there. Sorry, guys. I look so sloppy. I've got my first pair of ginger jeans on, and they are so much bigger than my others. They're so high-waisted, too. But they're really comfortable. Perfect for after the holidays, right? Oh, this is so squirrely. You guys need to talk to each other and entertain each other. All right. Now I need to do my little turn under edge. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna do that. Don't you hate it when you're ironing and then you start unironing everything else? Okay, I'm not going to iron that anymore. It's too frustrating. Oh. Oh, Office Depot does it? Let me see what you guys said. Oh, you got the, okay, wait. I want to see what you guys say. Oh, you're knitting mittens, Emmeline. Cool. Oh, Simplicity. I haven't used a Simplicity in a while. So Office Depot does blueprint plotting. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Because that's what those are. Those 36-inch wide plotters are blueprint plotters. That's what I have here. I just haven't hooked it up in years, and I just don't even know if it's compatible anymore. Oh, you got your Fabric from Hearts. I'm so glad. It's practically gift wrapped. Open it. You need to pre-wash that stuff. Imagine Nats. Oh, cool. Well, Carol, if you look at that first Jeans for Noobs video, I show you how to determine the stretch. Okay, cool. Stretch. Cool. Yeah, but I think some of my denim will work too. I'm not going to buy something special because I have a lot, and they're all pretty stretchy. I kind of wish they wasn't as stretchy, you know? All right, let's get this collar going. So I didn't end up, I started to iron my edge, and I started unironing the part I'd ironed, and rayon, yo. Okay, so I'm going to start from the inside of my shirt. But let's look at why we clip the, so you see that? See how those are spreading apart right there? They have to in order to lay flat. That's why you clip. It's not much, but it adds up. That little bit, that's like a fat 1/16 of an inch every single time in those really high curve areas. Adds up. It's the difference. Okay, so I'm going to look at this. See how I have a, so slippery. I'm going to get rid of that right now. I'm going to look at all my junctures here. I'm going to smooth them out a little bit. Better with a rotary knife, for sure. I'm not going to mess around with that too much yet. I'm going to look at that in a second. And then I'm going to get to here. This is what I'm really worried about. So the other thing about this pattern that I find interesting is that it's not a right angle when it gets to the neck, but I think that's because that the collar stays open, like spread apart at the front. The placket, I mean, the placket stays spread apart at the front, like this. So you don't really have an opportunity. If you wanted to make that a 90-degree angle, you'd have to really scoop it, and that would be kind of weird. So I can see why it didn't end up doing that. So I'm going to start from the inside. And it's supposed to be about 3/8 of an inch past. And so I have to admit, I think I'm going to start at the shoulder seam. Oy vey, look at that. I'm going to start at the shoulder seam, and then I'm going to come back to that. I kind of want to start from the middle of the neck, go towards the front, and then back towards the front again. You know what I mean? I find it's a better success. And so I'm going to mark my back yoke here, the center. One's on the bias. Party, party, party. All right. And is there a notch on this? No. There was a notch on the pattern for the yoke. I know that. So that was my fault that I forgot to do it. I'm going to do it on the collar. I'm going to do it on this one so they line up and I get minimal torquing. Yes, I'll probably get a little torquing. And I'm going to start at the center. Just like that. I'm not going to back tack. It'll add bulk, but I will back tack when I do the final one. Print your pattern and Pattern Z, and they're both very helpful and quick. That's awesome. Good to know, Thea. I haven't heard of print your pattern. Okay, I have to get all the way there. Ay caramba. Okay, yoke. Okay, yoke. Don't stretch out. This is when your seam allowance is really important. And why I had to stick with that ½ inch on those shoulders, because otherwise all this wouldn't line up. Okay, remember this little front is at an angle, so it's easy to stretch out, so be really careful. Oh gosh, Carol, I don't think I'm very good at tricky fabric issues, to be honest. I don't think you'll ever see me sew formal wear in this stream, or a wedding dress, anything like that. I've done that before and I'm done with it. I just don't like it. I really like structured things. Like I like this blouse because it has all the structure and all this top stitching and all these pieces. But I'm not that great with these kinds of delicate fabrics. I'm not a very delicate person in general. I'm kind of, klutzy. But, I do like wearing them. All right. I was supposed to have it hang over a little bit, but I didn't, and I'm fine with that. I actually didn't really like the idea of that anyway, but it's supposed to, so. I'm going to start from the back neck. Oh, I don't know if I'm going to. I'm going to start from the front, because usually you really want your curved piece to be on top when you're sewing. It's a lot easier to manipulate. I know your neckline is curved too, but not like this neck facing is, this neckband. So pick your poison at this point, Pinning it would be a lot easier in some cases. I like to live on the edge, me. I'm a daredevil. Couldn't you tell? I feel like I have a mouse in my machine. That must be really loud for you guys. I'm really sorry, because my microphone's like right here. A really angry mouse. It sounds like my new puppy when I get home, and he's just like, I can't believe you're home. It's the best thing in the world. Now let me out of this crate. But it sounds much more higher pitched than that. So I'm kind of pulling my upper and pushing my under. So I'm pulling on the little neckband facing a little bit, and I'm pushing the shirt towards the needle. I really want it to stay relaxed. I don't want that to get any bigger. Once I have it, you know, fixed, it's going to be a lot easier to deal with. We still need to sew. See, it's kind of getting a little too big. The collar is not at the on the bias right there where I kind of need it to be. I'm actually going to take out part of it, and I'm going to utilize the bias of the collar down here instead. So this is the inside of the garment. I started from the inside because I'm a cheater like that. And because I want the outside to look the best, not the inside. And so, especially like if I were sewing a collar stand that stood up like on this, I might consider, no, I wouldn't. I would still do it this exact way because that's how I sew these. I want the outside to look the best. Now I'm gonna hold these two together, the shoulders. I think it'll evenly distribute a little bit better. And I'm kind of pushing the under down there. I really feel like sewing is hard. I agree with that sentence, you know, 100%. And the more I sew, the more I feel it is about how you handle fabric. You get better and better at knowing what the fabric's going to do when you do something to it, or how you hold it, pull it, push it, pin it. All those things affect the fabric, and you just get better and better at knowing how it's going to react. And you get more predictive about it. See, that went way better. This is non-negotiable, this section though, right? I gotta meet up with that back neck. That's why I couldn't let the shoulders change. I don't want gathers in my neck. And I do find like quilting cottons to be the easiest thing to sew with, you know, things like that. Or poplin. I love poplin. Nice and tightly woven. It does exactly, it stays how you cut it, and it's easy to sew. So I have a bump right here on my machine, and I was a little worried just now that this fabric was pooling under there, and I was going to end up with like an inch of fabric to have to deal with it. See you, Millen. Thanks for stopping by. Because that happens to me all the time on this machine, you know. You're like, wow, I'm going so good, and then you get towards the end, and you're like, where did all this fabric come in? All right, let's see. Do I have any tucks anywhere? I have one right. Nope, no, I don't. Wait, do I? Nope, I don't. Okay, so I'm just looking it over, and I'm going to clip this neckline right now. You really want to make sure you don't clip your shirt doing this because it wants to get in the way. And yes, I do want to trim this down to 1/4 of an inch. I'm glad you asked, but I'm not going to. Get near your seam too. Don't avoid your seam. Don't avoid this area just because there's seam allowance. Clip there too. You need it there even more because it's bulkier, because there's extra layers of fabric. And it wants to get bound up right there at the shoulder seams because there's already a lot going on there, you know. So don't skip that part. So now the trick is I'm going to fold the collar to the front, to the outside. Turn under that long edge and top stitch it down. And I'm going to do that, and it's not going to be clipped like this. I'm going to try and do a little bit of the clipping, but it'll lay nicer if I could clip that, right? But you typically don't. It's kind of a funny thing. If this were sewn in a factory, there'd be a machine that did this whole entire thing all by itself. They would just feed in the plackets from one end and the shirt from the other side. I have seen that machine. It's magic. Okay. I don't like how messy this is getting right there. I really want to tame it soon. Oops. Okay. So let's see here. All right. Here we go. So now I'm going to stitch it on the outside of the garment, on the right side. That way I know I'm going to get a nice look. And so where I'm going to start is I'm going to start pinning at the shoulders and all the anchor points, like the center back and the shoulder, and then the center front neck. And then I'm going to ease in all those little areas in between. And rather than line up the seam with the shoulder seam, I know, really annoying that it doesn't do that, I'm going to keep it straight from where it's at over there. Because if I do that, it starts to torque, which just causes so much more issues than having a little tiny bit of seam misalignment. If that really bugs you, take it out and fix it. It doesn't bug me. The print's too busy. No one's inspecting this. If I ever meet you guys and you call attention to it, I might give you that face. Okay. This does get pretty narrow, but going through this interfacing and the fabric is a bit sturdy. Sorry I started with such a advanced, I feel like this is I feel like this is kind of an advanced sewing thing, but it's the kind of thing I really like to have. You know, it's the kind of garment I really like to have. I don't like how this is already looking like kind of wonky right there, so I'm gonna start here like that. I want it to be nice and flat. No torquing. Torquing is not allowed. It wants to get a little funny right there. What is that? Oh, I have a fabric flaw. I was like, what is going on there? That's weird. It was all like twisted. Yeah, thanks, Nancy. I know. It's this is gonna make you look at it differently, but I think it's supposed to be a tropical rainforest. That's right, Lisa. Friends don't nitpick friends. It's like when I used to show my friends oh, look, this is what I made, you know, and then we all do this, right? Then we're like, but I did this wrong, and I would have done that, and blah blah blah, and they're just like, come on, you know, stop picking it apart. And I stopped picking my things apart, because it's like, you know, I need to know what I would do differently next time. There is a little tuck right there, and it's bugging me, and I'm gonna pop that stitch. I'm gonna pop a couple others. I'm gonna relax it. And then fix it with this one. Like that. Yes, I know I just pulled out the seam, but I'm about to top stitch this down, so it's going to be okay. I'll make sure of it. Okay, so now I'm gonna anchor my front down, because that's the focal point, right? I really want my front to look nice, so I'm gonna turn this under, and this is always a tricky part. I'm gonna use my awl. I'm gonna get this kind of tuck that in there, tuck that up. And I'll probably fiddle with it more as I'm sewing it, because then I have the machine as my third hand to hold it down. Awesome, Nancy. That's so awesome. It's liberating, isn't it? It's not like you wear something that you bought at Target and you're like, oh, and they could have done this better. They could have done that, you know? It's like you actually made it. So you're like, yeah, I made this. Or you just don't say anything at all. I don't ever say anything, you know. I was really excited that you know that tamarack jacket, the one that has the stitched birds that I sewed for you guys? I was at a gas station I never go to, and I was not having a good experience at this gas station, but the woman in there, like, at the convenience store, she was like, oh, I like your jacket. And I was like, I never get to hear that. Like, I don't really know many people around here, and it's not like my husband and my daughter, you know, they're just used to me sewing things, you know. My daughter will say something sometimes, you know. Like, did you make that, you know? But it felt so good, and I didn't say anything like, I made this, you know, because I was a little bit, like, distracted by the gas station going on there, too. But still, it felt good. Avid sewists need praise, too. Okay. Sorry, it's a little tedious. It's a bit of a tedious shirt, you know. But all of the hard stuff will be behind me for Saturday, which is so appealing. And I really actually like this kind of sewing. I don't know why. I feel like it's easiest to sit there and fix, you know? It's like, okay, I can make this how I want it as I go. And the only pressure I'm having is that I really want it to turn out nice because I'm really excited about the garment, you know? But that kind of pressure I can handle. When I pick fabrics that look like fabric you would probably get off of a rack, it's not so much calling attention to the fact that it's handmade, you know? Like, if this had elephants all over it, then maybe someone would be like, huh, interesting. Well, I don't know, maybe elephants wouldn't be, but let's say it had gnomes all over it, you know? Someone might say, oh, did you make that, you know? Okay, getting my point there before I immortalize it. Finally got my finger to heal. Look at that. I can wear my wedding ring again. That's all I asked for Christmas was like, will you get my ring clean and tell them if they can, like, fill it with something so that it doesn't get water trapped in there. Water gets trapped in there and I can't dry it because my ring fits me. They cleaned it. They couldn't do that, but I have been better about, like, I rotate it off of my finger there, you know, when it's dry, when it's wet. My hands are wet a lot. I like to wash dishes. I'm a freak that way. Okay. You guys can just, you know, listen to a podcast while I'm doing this. Entertain me. I can't get that point out. I'm going to try and get that point out as I go. It's going to look so nice, though. Okay, I'm going to get this. Now I'm kind of like closing in on my little area here. So I'm going to look at this shoulder area. It's a halfway point. This is my trouble area because that's where the curve is the sharpest right there. Wants to gather up. Maybe I will pull that way. Not that I'm pulling the collar that way, but I'm pulling the shoulder that way. Right. There we go. What's the weather like where you guys are? It's been raining here for over a week. Oh, is that really, Carol? That's so awesome. Did you see my picture on Instagram? I got my latest Needle Sharp subscription box, and it came with this a mini anvil for putting on rivets, and some Smarties, and the Smarties lost the anvil battle in shipping. They were just obliterated and dust all over. I was like, darn, I really would have liked to eat those Smarties. I love that. Be yourself. That's awesome, Carol. Okay, I'm going to ease that in. I've got some little gathers there. When you have this, you know, interfaced collar, it is unforgiving. It's like smooth and firm. And the shirt, it doesn't have that, right? It's like loosey-goosey. Okay, I want this. I'm like pulling out a little bit with my pin and then poking the other in. I'm going to put 2 pins right there. Almost ready to sew. I've got my flannel pajama bottoms over there because, okay, so, you know, I made 2 pairs of those pajama bottoms, right? The Carolyn pajamas, and I love them. The first pair I made, the floral, I did that live on stream. And that pattern was perfect for that weight of fabric. And then I used the exact same size and everything for the plaid flannel bottoms I made. And that flannel was pretty heavy. It's a yarn dyed flannel, beautiful. You guys probably used to, yeah. And the size, I should have made a smaller size. Like, they're too big. And they're so heavy they fall off of me. It's so funny. Yeah, you like that, Nancy? That's awesome. When I was thinking, I've been like reminiscing, you know, lately, because I'm packaging up all these orders for chicken boots and I sign every single one of them, you know, and I thank people. All right, here we go. We're ready to sew, right? Let's look at it. It gets a little like narrow there and wide there, though. You see that? Let's check that out. And it's like I've been reflecting on like where I started, right? And I started on Etsy, like a lot of people. That was the best option then. Now I don't know if that really is the best option. I think it's a great option. I just think you don't have to do that anymore. People are into handmade. But I used to wrap every package in white tissue and then wrap it, you know? And I just remember the day I was like, I can't do this anymore. It was so much work. And if it went badly, you'd have to rip the tissue off and start over again. And I really, like, the way I ended up, where I got with my packaging was I really wanted it to be reusable or recyclable. And so that's why we do a piece of bias ribbon and then the little, like, cardboard tag, which you can use as like a bookmark or something, or if you toss it, you can recycle it, you know. So yeah, exactly, Nancy. I know, the heavier it just droops. Yeah. So all right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start back here and I'm gonna go around, and then I'm gonna go around the top edge, and then my back stitch is back here. So I'm gonna do the whole thing in one fell swoop. Wish me luck. It's gonna go well, right? And then I'm not gonna have any like issues. And my loud bobbin is back. What the heck is that? Oh, look at that. I need to get that in there. Let's see. Ooh, I'm falling off the edge. Ah! I think I jinxed myself. It still feels like I'm sewing with a size 16 needle. Oh, I know. I love that, Nancy. I love that they wrap those in actual pattern tissue. Okay, I'm going to call my mechanic. I can't have the squeaky bobbin. It's almost full. Oh, that's so much better, isn't it? Okay. I can see a little thread poking out. I'm going to tuck that guy in there. Sometimes when they're so small, they're really hard to trim. So I'd much rather get tucked in there than have to trim it. And then this, I remember I was going to work on that as I go. Get rid of that point. Pull this down a little bit. There we go. You can do this with a pin. I just found the awl to be a little bit easier because the pin wants to go into the fabric, and the awl just is a little bit more resistant to that because it's thicker. I'm pretty excited about our sew along. I feel like a lot of people are going to do it. When I started like getting all those orders, I was like, this is crazy that I'm going to still stream this whole month and I have to go to that show. But I'm really excited about that show. I love that show. It's in Madrona. It's in Madrona in Washington. the perfect show to be my last show for Chicken Boots. I would have liked Stitches West to be it, but I'm not at Stitches West this year. And it's Madrona's last year too. Someone did end up deciding to buy it or take it over or something. I don't really know how that works. But this is the last year that it'll be Madrona. Okay, do you notice how my collar gets narrow in the back and a little bit wider up front? Learn from me, kiddos. Not ideal. There are ways I could have gone about that, like ironing it first would have helped. Not using rayon would have helped a lot more because I'm rubbish at sewing rayon. But I think if you sew carefully, this is probably the most careful you've ever seen me be on stream. Am I right? It's because of the rayon. I don't mess around with rayon. Maybe that's what my resolution will be, is to get better at sewing rayon. And you notice I left all my pins in because I don't want to worry about it. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, Leia. I know. So last November, like a year ago in November, we got news that I'm sure you've heard this from me, our factory had given away our production spot for spring, which meant that Rayanne and I had to sew all of our spring fabrics for the shows, which we'd pulled off, but it was pretty stressful. And they didn't sew everything for us. They just sewed a few products, but they just took the burden off of us. All right, let's take out my pins here. And that I was going to Stitches with that knowledge, because the week before Stitches, they decided also, oh, okay, well, we'll finish out your spring. So we only had to do part of it. And then they decided they could do part of our spring just at a little bit later, which was fine because we made enough to get through our shows and also to be able to fulfill the website for the first spring launch. And then they would follow up with more inventory, and no one would notice, right? Nobody noticed. Ooh, this looks good. And then they doubled our prices. Literally doubled our prices for the next production run we were going to do with them. And that's happened the week before Stitches. And I just went into Stitches feeling like, I don't know if I'm going to have a factory by this time next year. And I can't take that on. It made me really nervous. So what do you guys think? That looks pretty good. Okay, so you can tell it didn't catch my back collar. It doesn't matter. I already stitched it. But that is kind of what happens. But see, that's on the inside. No one's going to see that. And then our binding contractor lost his building. My building sold, and my lease was up at the end of that last year, 2018. And something else happened in February. I can't remember what it was. So it was just a lot of things. And so I was like, I don't feel comfortable with it. So let's see. You make a garment a month group on Facebook. Remember your live streams. Oh, nice. Thanks, Nancy. That's so nice of you. Which reminds me, yeah, yikes, exactly. Oh, they did, Carol? That's really cool. Yeah, I know, Carol. That's not a very big show either. I've done Stitches Midwest. I did it when my sister lived in Chicago. I was like, oh, I'm going to visit you. I'm going to go do this show. And I had a really great time. And people were so nice and really wished I'd come back. But so expensive to travel there with your booth and all your product. And I didn't drive, right? So I flew and then shipped my booth and my product. And the booth got damaged. You could see wet boot prints all over it, they'd walked on it. So it's just one of those things oh God, I don't really need to do these shows outside of where I can drive, so I didn't. But I always wished I'd done a road trip on the East Coast or through the Midwest, and just for fun, and I broke even for that show, which is awesome. And I did it purely just to say hi to the Midwest, so it is a really sweet show. People were so nice to me there. So yeah, Nancy, you reminded me we need a place to be able to discuss things. And I'm going to admit I'm not huge on Facebook. I have minimal presence there. So does anybody else know of other forums for chatting. I will do Facebook if everyone's like, Facebook just works, I'm used to it. That's fine. I can do that. We could start a group on there. I will warn you, I won't be that active on there all the time, but I'll try my best because it would be really nice to be able to have like a place where we could organize some comment threads and things like that. I'm going to look and see if my website supports that kind of page. I think it might. But I'm not sure. I have to look at it. Maybe it's an app I can download. And I'm going to redo my website to be more for So Live instead of Chicken Boots in the future. It's going to take a while, though. So got to be patient with me. And we're just figuring this out, right? This first sew along, we're just going to figure out like what we all want, what we need, and if we really want to do these. I know I'm really casual and I'm not very like perfectly instructional. I can do more of that, but I don't really want to be your last place for knowledge. I feel like there's so many resources out there that have existed for a while. I don't need to like reinvent that. A lot of pattern companies have blogs, tutorials, videos on how to do some of the things in their patterns. And so I don't really need to reinvent that and create duplicate information. I just really want to create a space that is really casual, fun, interactive, and a place where we can like chat about what we're doing and figure out the answers together and fumble along and have our successes together and pat each other on the back and just explore things and talk about it. So it'd be really nice if I could hear your voices too, you know? So, but you have to listen to mine all the time. So yeah, see, Nancy, I know it's like I am in one group on there and it works, but there isn't a way to like, categorize things. Maybe there is. I will admit I'm not very good at Facebook, so I'm not the one. And maybe I could find someone who's interested in like being a mod on a group for that. So yeah, I'll start looking at that in my free time. I've got 75. Wait, I have 95 more orders to ship. I'm trying to get them all out by tomorrow because I really want to take tomorrow off because I've been working 11-hour days, and I'm really I'm like really heck bent on getting that caught up because I don't want people to wait anymore. So thanks, Nancy. I'm really glad. Yeah. I just don't want people to be hard on themselves with sewing. Sewing is so hard, you know, already. So they don't need to be hard on themselves. Okay, so this looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with this. What do you guys think? My collar's coming up a little bit right there. I'm hoping that when I'm wearing it, the slope of my back will be fine. It looks pretty good. That is pretty deep, huh? It's probably down to here. Yeah, so there's only like 2 or 3 buttons and buttonholes on this, but I might do like a few. I think they go like here, and maybe I'd put one here and here. I don't know. So our sleeves, they are this style. This is the view I'm making. So it has the 3/4 sleeve, so it's got a cuff. So that is a cuff right there. She's got it rolled as well. But in the picture, that's a cuff, and then there's a sleeve tab. So I'm going to do that. I've actually never sewn a sleeve tab. So I'm kind of cool with that, you know. That's interesting, Lisa. That's awesome. I was always better with my writing, but I could only speak in present tense. So other tenses, I always got so nervous I never practiced my tenses, you know. So I know what you mean. It's a little bit easier. Your English is awesome, by the way. Okay, well, I am going to finish this Saturday. I hope you'll join me 11 a.m. Pacific. And for anyone new here, welcome. I'm Sarami, and I'm really happy you're here. You can find me on Instagram, SewSewLive. You can send me an email, sewsewlive@gmail.com. There's a tab on my chickenbootsusa.com website called, I think it's called Live Sewing or Sew Live, or you'll see it. It's a tab right there on the front. It's in the middle. And there's links to a newsletter you can sign up for, and that kind of like I send out the schedule. I'm really casual about the newsletter. I'm not selling anything, so it's not like I'm like spamming you with stuff. Just looking for interaction and people that are interested in sewing and learning. And if you're knitting and hanging out with us, that's awesome too. I love that. And we talk about sizing a lot here and knitting even as well. Let's see, what else was I going to say? We're doing a sew along that starts in a couple weeks. You have plenty of time to get your stuff. It's the Mountain View Pull-On Jeans by Itch to Stitch. We did a stream about all the questions and answers called that. It was a few weeks ago. It was the last stream before this one, I'm pretty sure, right? Or did I do the duffel after that? And then, let's see, what else do I want you to know? I stream Pacific time, so 10 a.m. Thursdays, 11 a.m. Saturday. Maybe we'll change that in the future depending on what you guys think. And I am in transition, so I'm kind of shutting down my main gig here, my main business. I'm even moving to a new studio space that's being set up right now. And so there is going to be some downtime, so just stick with me. I know that it might look like I'm a little flaky right now because this is a totally a side gig. I don't get paid to do this. I really enjoy it. And I really want to do this. This is what I want to do. I'm winding down, these years and trying to simplify things. And I need to wrap up chicken boots in a really nice way. I'm not going to do it halfway, So my customers have done a lot for me, really supported me over the years. I think I had chicken boots for 9 years, maybe 10, and really grew it into something I'm really proud of. Yeah, so anyway, you're probably getting spammed by my Chicken Boots newsletter lately if you're on that one too, because I have been overwhelmed with support, love, and orders and stuff. So yes, my space with the library ladder. Yeah, it's really cool. And you don't land. That's awesome. I love that. Yeah, so I got a picture today of my floors, and let's see, the ladder wasn't on there yet. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm already thinking about what I'm going to put. There's like over 400 cubbies, you guys. So I can't reach all of them, even with that ladder. I could, but I'm not going to do that regularly. So I'm hoping that'll be my backdrop, so we'll see. I'm looking forward to it. And I'm really glad that a lot of my inventory might be done here, because then I don't have to set up a shipping area over there. I can just dedicate it for my stream. And I'm hoping that I'll have a few extra cameras, maybe an extra computer. I'm not going to sell chicken boots. There was someone that was really heartbroken. One of my vendors, she's amazing. She was like, "You can't do that. You have to keep chicken boots. We will make sure this happens." But you guys, the thing is, like, I'm pretty unique. I have a set of skills that has really enabled chicken boots to be what it is. And a lot of folks don't have those kinds of skills, so it's a beast to take on. And I'm really passionate. It always stays manufactured in the United States, and I know this particular person would probably want to take it to another country to have it sewn. Would be the smartest thing for it, but not for my brand. So that's just how I feel about it. Okay, cool, Kathleen. That's great. Yeah, fabric storage. I know, right? I don't have to worry about yarn getting moths on it. Like, I can put my fabric up there and there's not a lot of direct sunlight. So I think I can do that. So yeah, so let me figure out a way to like have a forum. Is anyone on Reddit? What's Reddit like? Like, I'm so like in the dark about all these social media things. Like, I love Instagram, but it's not the place to have like a chat forum. So we need to find something that works. And I'm hoping I can find something on my own website that'll work, like an app. And then that way it's just all right there, and we can have tabs and pages and things like that. So just give me some time. Let me work on it. Maybe we could just do it. Like Nancy's been commenting on the that jeans, not the jeans for news, that stream we did for the sew along. Like, she's been commenting on there. She's like, I don't know where else to put these things. So I don't blame her. So yeah, we'll figure it out. But any suggestions, welcome. Follow me on Instagram. If there's any ever schedule change. Oh, Brooke, Discord, you with the gaming reference. I love it. Look at you. That's true. But Discord, can you do like different, you can have a voice channel in there. That's true. I bet most people here have never heard of Discord. It's a way, it's a way to chat and voice chat. It's kind of interesting. I've never used the voice chat thing. You might have to teach me. I've used Discord before, but it's been a while. I ended up deleting my account because they changed their privacy policy, and I was like, I don't know about that. So I just deleted it. That's true. Okay, we'll look at this, you guys. We'll look at this. So, anywho, thanks for coming. I'm Sarah, and I really appreciate it. My first live stream of the year, and I'm a little rusty, I know, but you know, be nice to me. Yeah, right, Nancy. Okay, guys. See you Saturday, 11 a.m. Pacific is when I will be right here finishing these sleeves on the Cheyenne Tunic by Hey June Patterns. And I really appreciate you being here. Happy New Year. We'll see you guys soon. Put my little garment thumbnail up here.